Posturing to the anti-woke mob has consequences. We're talking heavy economic hits centered around his war against Disney. On Thursday, the corporate giant said it has abandoned a plan to open up a new employee campus near Orlando amid rising tensions with the state and its governor. More than 2,000 California-based employees will no longer be asked to relocate to Florida. Josh DeMauro, chairman of Disney Parks Experiences and Products Division, cited changing business conditions as a reason for canceling the Lake Nona project. The new regional campus, a $1 billion investment, was intended for employees from all across the company. That includes the Walt Disney Imagineering Department, which uses innovation and storytelling to bring Disney stories and cartoons to life. It's actually a very cool job. You get to make children's dreams come true. So it doesn't surprise us that Ron DeSantis is over there crushing children's joy over fake fights with Mickey Mouse, while also crushing the joy of Pride events, one of which is now canceled in Tampa in the wake of his anti-drag bill. Targeting drag shows is only one of the priorities DeSantis gleefully signed into law this week as part of his pre-presidential rollout. The new bills also ban gender-affirming care for minors and will even grant the state of Florida temporary custody of children whose parents provide them with gender-affirming care. Hey, Ron, what was that part again during COVID? Checks notes here about, parental rights? I guess Florida kids now belong to the state, like anyone who gets pregnant down there. Don't say gay, bathroom bills, censoring pronouns, book bans, abortion bans. That is exactly what America wants, said absolutely no one. Instead, it's what happens when keeping it right-wing goes wrong. Joining me now is New York Times columnist Michelle Goldberg and Republican strategist Susan Del Percio. Thank you both for being here. I just want to play for you all this sound of Bob Iger, who is clearly winning this fight with Ron DeSantis on a call, an earnings call. And here he is talking about Florida.
Does the state want us to invest more, employ more people, and pay more taxes, or not?
Susan, you have a longtime veteran Republican strategist. Where in the playbook for Republican politicians is lose $1 billion of investments for your state?
You know, what's been amazing through this whole fight is what is a win for Ron DeSantis? He doesn't have any path except the win is a one-liner that he's been using in speeches. And it's not the first time Ron DeSantis has really ticked off big industry in his state. If you remember during COVID, he was after the CDC to get the cruise ship industry back online. And once, finally, they were allowed. And the cruise ship industry is like, yes, but everyone's going to have need to be vaccinated. And Ron DeSantis says no business will operate in Florida unless that requires a passport vaccination.
Yeah.
You know? And they went bananas.
Yeah. He sued them.
All he is after, what it shows is that business development for Ron DeSantis is all about trying to get a one-liner in.
Yeah.
And it's about personal development. It has nothing to do with business. And the Republicans running for president or talking about running for president are having a field day. It started with Nikki Haley saying, hey, come over to South Carolina. We got room for you.
100%.
But it is also, I mean, it's so hard to talk about Republican values because Donald Trump has corrupted them so much. But back in the time, people actually in the Republican Party cared about supporting business.
Yeah, not anymore. Not anymore. Just to go through here, Disney paid and collected more than $1.1 billion in state and local tax revenues in Florida last year. Walt Disney Company has about 75,000 employees in the state. It's one of the top private employers in the state. Not all the employees at visitors actually stay in the park. Some stay at nearby hotels, eat at local restaurants. They go on side field trips. The water parks in Central Florida draw millions to Central Florida every year. So he's basically said, I would rather them leave. I would rather them leave. A 2019 study at Oxford Economics found that Orlando area tourism, at which Disney sits at the center, generated $75.2 billion in economic impact for Central Florida. That's about $1,000 for every tourist. Ron DeSantis has said, OK, but if you won't do what I say, get out. If you won't raise your kids how I say, we'll take your kids. If you want to wear a mask, I'll rip it off your kid in front of you in a news conference. What is this agenda? What is he doing?
Well, I think that, first of all, I think he just kind of misunderstood what happened with his reelection. I think his kind of opening the schools, his opposition to COVID restrictions was popular, the kind of quote unquote freedom agenda, for better or worse. But he mistook that support for being kind of support for a full on war on wokeness. And he's made anti-wokeness the center of his governorship, right? He always says, Florida is where woke goes to die. It's why he's put so much energy into attacking New College and transforming New College. This school with less than 700 kids has become this major policy obsession of his. And I think that, he's so deep in sort of the right-wing ecosystem that people who were all cheering, Disney's all full of groomers, that he sort of lost touch with the rest of the country, for whom, these buzzwords about cultural Marxism and, all the kind of language that you would know if you spend a lot of time reading right-wing blogs and listening to right-wing podcasts, but they just don't mean anything, I think, to most people. And they don't mean anything, but also what parents and regular people, normal people understand is, hang on a second. I'm raising my kid. I take my kid to my doctor. And then you're going to tell me you're going to take my kid because you don't like the medical decisions I'm making? You're going to tell my kid they can't read books. You're going to tell my black child they can't read a book about black history? Really? You're going to tell them they can't take a black history? You're going to tell my female child they can't take history about women? You're going to tell my Jewish child they can't learn about the Holocaust because you don't like it? This isn't freedom. This is not a freedom agenda. This is a do what Ron DeSantis tells you to do, the state owns you agenda. Who does he think that's going to attract?
Well, I think Michelle was spot on when she said that DeSantis misunderstood his the election results for 2022. He really didn't get at what was driving people. It was nothing. They didn't show up. Correct. I mean, there was a big difference. 900,000 fewer votes cast on the Democratic line.
Correct.
From 18 to 2022.
Correct.
So people maybe didn't come out so much. They didn't come out against him, but they didn't come out for him either. And right now, you look at independent women, and one of Ron DeSantis's big things is, I can win a general election. I mean, independent women in Florida hate him by 61%.
Correct.
I don't understand. It makes no sense that he is touting himself as an alternative to Donald Trump when actually his baggage is policy baggage, which is much more dangerous to carry around in a general election.
You're absolutely right. And he also, so he's Trump with a completely subjugated legislature. So the idea that he could do on a national scale what he does in Florida is bullshit. I'm sorry to use the horrible word, but it's not real because he's got a sycophant legislature that will pass anything he says. So that isn't true on a national scale. But to the same point, the point I think that Susan makes, women want a lot of things. A 6-week abortion ban at a national level, that ain't one of them.
Right. And I think that, unlike Trump, he is much more kind of a captive of the Republican base. Trump kind of bosses around the Republican base and they follow him. I think Ron DeSantis follows the base. And so he was in kind of an impossible position. I mean, there's no excuse for signing this bill, but he also wouldn't be a presidential contender in the Republican Party if he hadn't signed it. And so on the one hand, he was first kind of touting himself as this more electable alternative to Donald Trump. And then Donald Trump, in some ways, has been able to outflank him with kind of quote unquote moderates by kind of calling into question the abortion bills, the abortion bans that his own administration has made possible. Yeah. It's a phony argument, but he's kind of put DeSantis into a corner where he can't abandon anti-abortion extremism, but he also can't win a general election with it.
And you know what Donald Trump didn't do while he was president? Sign a 6-week abortion ban, right?